The client retention report showed 0 active cases under my name at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in October. I stared at the screen in my home office, coffee growing cold beside my laptop. Mortimer Iverson, 42 years old, trade and customs partner at our mid-sized litigation team in Jacksonville. 15 years building relationships with importers, exporters, and freight companies across the Southeast. The report had to be wrong. I refreshed the browser. Same result. According to our case management system, I had no active clients, no pending matters, no billable hours logged in the past 30 days. My phone buzzed. Text from Clementine Brennan, our office manager. "Mort, can you call me? Something weird with the billing system." I dialed immediately. She answered on the first ring. "The quarterly reports are due tomorrow," she said without preamble, "but your client list is showing up blank. IT says there's no technical issue." "That's impossible. I just filed motions for coastal freight last week." That's what I thought. But when I pulled their file, it shows Rhett Caldwell as primary counsel, has been for 6 months. Rhett Caldwell. My former mentor. The man who taught me customs law when I joined the firm 8 years ago. We'd grown distant after he made partner ahead of me, but we maintained professional courtesy. "There has to be an explanation," I said. "Maybe. But Mort?" I pulled a few other files. Maritime logistics, Gulf Coast imports, even Henderson shipping. They're all showing Rhett as primary counsel now. My stomach dropped. Henderson Shipping had been my client for 5 years. I'd handled their compliance audit personally just 2 months ago. "Send me everything you have," I said. Client lists, billing records, case assignments, all of it. "Already in your inbox." "Mort? Be careful. Something doesn't feel right about this." I hung up and opened my email. 17 files from Clementine. Each one showed the same pattern. Clients I'd cultivated for years. Relationships I'd built through late nights and weekend calls, all reassigned to Rhett's portfolio. The timestamps were the strangest part. The system showed these transfers happening gradually over the past 6 months. While I was in trial. While I was handling the Morrison Industries customs violation case that consumed 6 weeks of my life. They handled my billing while I was in trial for 6 weeks. I pulled up the Morrison file, still assigned to me, but it was the only one left. My phone rang. Unknown number. "Mr. Iverson? This is Janet Rodriguez from Henderson Shipping. I wanted to thank you for referring us to Mr. Caldwell. He's been excellent to work with these past few months." The line went dead before I could respond. I stared at my phone for 10 minutes after Janet Rodriguez hung up. Henderson Shipping had been my first major client win. I'd landed them during my 3rd year at the firm, back when Rhett was still teaching me the intricacies of customs regulations. The irony wasn't lost on me. I pulled up the case management system and ran a detailed audit report. The data painted a clear picture. Starting in January, while I was preparing for the Morrison trial, client contact records began shifting. Phone calls that should have been logged to my extension were redirected to Rhett's. Email threads I'd initiated were somehow transferred to his client communication folders. The Morrison case had been a career-defining moment. 6 weeks of depositions, expert witnesses, and regulatory hearings. The firm's biggest customs violation defense in 5 years. I'd won it too. Saved Morrison Industries $12 million in penalties. While I was fighting for that victory, Rhett was systematically stealing my practice. I called Clementine back. "I need you to pull the phone logs," I said. "Every call to my clients since January. Cross-reference them with Rhett's extension." "Already did. You're not going to like it." "Tell me." "Your clients have been calling the main number and asking for you by name. The receptionist has been transferring them to Rhett. There's a notation in the system that says you requested all trade and customs calls be routed to him during your trial preparation. I never made that request." "I know. I checked the authorization logs. The change was made using your system credentials. On January 15th at 11:47 p.m. January 15th. I'd been home with food poisoning that night. Hadn't touched my computer. Someone used my login, I said. Gets worse. The client relationship transfers were all processed using your digital signature. The system shows you personally authorizing each reassignment. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out my security token. The small device generated unique passwords for accessing sensitive firm systems. It hadn't left my possession in 8 years. Clementine, I need you to check something else. Pull the IT access logs for my office. Physical entry records. Give me 10 minutes. I used the time to call 3 more former clients. Same story each time. They'd been told I was unavailable long-term and that Rhett Caldwell would be handling their matters going. Professional, seamless transitions. No complaints about service quality. Rhett had done this perfectly. My phone buzzed with a text from Clementine. Your office was accessed 17 times after hours since January. Badge swipes show you entering, but security cameras were mysteriously offline during each visit. The pieces clicked together. Rhett had somehow cloned my access credentials. He'd used my own security clearance to enter my office, access my computer, and systematically transfer my clients to his portfolio. The digital signatures, the phone routing, the case reassignments, all of it processed under my authority. I walked down the hall to Rhett's corner office. His door was closed, but I could see him through the glass partition. He was on the phone, laughing at something, probably talking to one of my former clients. I knocked and entered without waiting for permission. I'll call you back, he said into the phone, then looked up at me with that familiar mentor smile. Mort, heard you crushed the Morrison case. Congratulations. We need to talk. Of course, sit down. Coffee? I remained standing. Henderson Shipping called me today. Thanked me for referring them to you. His expression didn't change. Janet's a sweetheart, great client. You did excellent work building that relationship. I never referred them to you, Rhett. No? Huh. Must have been a miscommunication. You know how these transitions can be during busy periods. What transitions? He leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. The same pose he'd used when teaching me contract law. Mort, you've been overwhelmed. The Morrison case nearly killed you. The partners thought it would be best to redistribute some of your caseload. The partners? Which partners? It was a collective decision. Nothing personal. Just business efficiency. I pulled out my phone and showed him the client transfer records. These show my digital signature, authorizing every reassignment. I never signed anything. Rhett glanced at the screen, then back at me. His mentor mask was slipping. The firm's case management system can be confusing, he said. Sometimes authorizations get processed automatically when workload algorithms detect capacity issues. Bullshit. Someone used my credentials to access the system after hours. 17 times since January. That's a serious accusation, Mort. It's a serious crime, Rhett. He stood up slowly, walked to his window overlooking the St. Johns River. You're upset. I understand. Change is difficult. 6 clients, Rhett. 6 major accounts representing 40% of my billable hours. All transferred while I was in trial, using forged authorizations. Not forged, processed through proper channels. Channels you created by stealing my access credentials. He turned back to me, and for the first time in 8 years, I saw the real Rhett Caldwell. Not the mentor, not the colleague, the predator. Prove it, he said. I walked straight to Clementine Morrison's office. As the firm's managing partner, she needed to hear this first. Mortimer. Good timing. I was just reviewing your quarterly numbers. We have a problem. Rhett Caldwell has been stealing my clients. She set down her pen. That's a serious allegation. I placed the printed access logs on her desk. System entries show my credentials being used from Rhett's workstation after midnight on 17 occasions. Each time preceded client transfers the following day. Clementine studied the documents. This could be a technical glitch. Henderson Shipping called me directly. They thought I'd referred them to Rhett. I never did. Sit down, Mortimer. I remained standing. 6 clients. 40% of my billable hours. All transferred using forged digital signatures while I was in trial. The Morrison case required your full attention. The partners discussed redistributing some of your workload. Which partners? It was a management decision. Was it your decision or Rhett's? She hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. Clementine, he's been planning this for months. Maybe longer. I'll need to investigate this properly. Don't discuss this with anyone else until we have all the facts. I left her office knowing the investigation would be thorough but slow. Too slow. That afternoon, I called Rhett Brennan, our IT security consultant. We'd worked together on several cases involving digital. Mort, what can I do for you? I need a favor, unofficial. Can you pull detailed access logs for the case management system? That's sensitive data. What's this about? Someone's been using my credentials to transfer clients. I need proof. Meet me at Riverside Brewing at 7. Bring your laptop. The brewery was crowded. Perfect cover for a sensitive conversation. Rhett Brennan arrived with a tablet and a grim expression. Your instincts were right, he said, sliding the tablet across the table. Someone's been systematically accessing your client files using your login credentials. But here's the interesting part. The screen showed a detailed timeline of system access. These entries show your credentials being used simultaneously from 2 different IP addresses. Your office workstation and another terminal. Rhett Caldwell's office? Can't say definitively without a formal investigation, but the pattern suggests someone with administrative access created a duplicate authentication token. How long has this been happening? First anomalous entry was January 15th. Last one was 3 days ago. Right after I returned from trial. Whoever did this knew your schedule. They waited until you were unavailable to make the transfers. I studied the data. The pattern was methodical, professional. This wasn't opportunistic theft. This was calculated betrayal. Can you document this officially? I'd need authorization from management. But I can preserve the logs as they exist now. Do it. The next morning, I received a call from Janet Friedman at Henderson Shipping. Mortimer, I'm confused about something. We received a bill from Rhett Caldwell for work you performed last year. What kind of work? The contract review for our new distribution center. You spent weeks on that project? I did. Send me a copy of that bill. The invoice arrived within an hour. Rhett had billed Henderson Shipping $12,000 for work I'd completed 6 months earlier. My time entries, my research, my contract language, all rebranded under his name. I called 3 other transferred clients. Same story. Rhett was billing them for my previous work while handling their new matters. This wasn't just client theft. This was systematic fraud. I scheduled a meeting with Clementine Morrison for that afternoon. When I arrived, she wasn't alone. Rhett Caldwell sat across from her desk, looking relaxed. Mortimer, sit down. Rhett and I have been discussing your concerns. Have you reviewed the access logs? We have. There are some irregularities that need explanation. Rhett leaned. Mort, I think there's been a misunderstanding. When you were overwhelmed with the Morrison case, I helped manage some of your client communications. Standard practice. Using my credentials without authorization, the system automatically logged those interactions under your account. Technical issue. I placed Janet Friedman's invoice on the desk. Explain this. Clementine examined the document. This shows billing for work performed last year. Work I performed. Rhett's billing clients for my completed projects. Rhett's composure cracked slightly. That's a clerical error. My assistant must have used the wrong template. $12,000 is quite an error. I'll have it corrected immediately. Clementine set down the invoice. Rhett, I need you to provide a complete accounting of all client interactions over the past 6 months. Mortimer, I'm placing both of you on administrative leave pending a full investigation. Both of us? I stood up. I'm the victim here. This is standard procedure for any internal investigation. You'll both receive full pay during the review period. I walked out, knowing the firm was protecting itself, not seeking justice. But I had one more card to play. That evening, I called the Florida Bar's Ethics Hotline. I need to report potential attorney misconduct involving client theft and billing fraud. I'll connect you with our intake department. Within 48 hours, I received a call from Natalie Ford, Judicial Oversight Auditor for the Independent Bar Review Committee. Mr. Iverson, we've received your complaint. This appears to involve multiple violations of professional conduct rules. We'll need to conduct a formal investigation. What does that involve? Full audit of client files, billing records, and system access logs. We'll also interview all parties involved. How long does this take? Depends on the complexity. Given the scope of your allegations, probably 6 to 8 weeks. What happens to the clients during this period? They'll be notified of the investigation and given options for alternative representation. The bar investigation moved quickly. Natalie Ford's team was thorough and professional. They interviewed clients, reviewed financial records, and analyzed the digital Rhett Brennan had preserved. 3 weeks later, I received a call from Clementine Morrison. Mortimer, can you come in? We need to discuss the investigation findings. When I arrived, Natalie Ford was waiting with a thick file folder. Mr. Iverson, our investigation has substantiated your allegations. Mr. Caldwell systematically accessed your client files using stolen credentials and transferred 6 major accounts without authorization. What about the billing fraud? We found of duplicate billing totaling $47,000 across 4 clients. Mr. Caldwell was billing clients for work you'd already completed, and they'd already paid for. Clementine looked exhausted. Rhett has been terminated. We're cooperating fully with the bar investigation. What about criminal charges? Natalie Ford nodded. The state attorney's office has been notified. They're reviewing the case for potential wire fraud and computer crimes charges. And my clients? They've been contacted and given the option to return to your representation or seek alternative counsel. 5 of the 6 have chosen to return. 2 months later, Rhett Caldwell was arrested on charges of wire fraud, computer crimes, and theft. The bar suspended his license pending the criminal proceedings. The firm offered me a partnership track position and a substantial settlement for the damages I'd suffered. I declined both. Why? Clementine asked during our final meeting. Trust is like virginity. Once it's gone, you can't get it back. I helped 3 other attorneys who'd been victims of similar schemes. The bar investigation had uncovered a pattern of client theft that extended beyond my case. Justice felt methodical, not satisfying. But it was complete. 6 months later, I was reviewing case files in my new office, overlooking the St. Johns River. The brass nameplate read Mortimer Iverson, Attorney at Law, in simple block letters. My practice was smaller but cleaner. 15 clients who valued integrity over flash. I handled their cases personally. No associates, no billing mysteries. Every invoice was transparent. Every hour accounted for. The criminal trial had concluded in February. Rhett Caldwell received 18 months in federal prison and was ordered to pay restitution of $63,000. The bar formally disbarred him after the conviction. 3 other attorneys had contacted me after reading about the case in the Florida Bar Journal. Each had similar stories of client theft and billing fraud. I helped them navigate the complaint process and connect with investigators. The pattern was always the same: trusted colleagues exploiting access during busy trial periods. Digital breadcrumbs hidden in plain sight. Victims, too, focused on their cases to notice the theft until it was too late. Clementine Morrison called occasionally with updates. The firm had implemented new security protocols and hired a compliance officer. They'd settled with the affected clients and rebuilt their reputation slowly. "Any regrets about leaving?" she asked during our last conversation. "None. The partnership offer still stands. I'm exactly where I need to be." My new routine was predictable. Court appearances, client meetings, document review. No surprises, no betrayals, no hidden agendas. I controlled every aspect of my practice. Tuesday evenings, I teach at a night law school for second career attorneys. The students are older, more focused, less naive about human nature. They understand that legal ethics isn't just about following rules. It's about protecting the profession from people like Rhett Caldwell. Last week, a student asked about trust in professional relationships. "Trust but verify," I told her. "And when verification fails, trust your instincts." The sunset painted the river orange and gold. My office was quiet, except for the hum of the air conditioning and the distant sound of traffic on the Acosta Bridge. No alerts on my phone, no mysterious billing discrepancies, no unauthorized access logs, no former mentors plotting in the shadows, just the steady rhythm of honest work and the satisfaction of cases handled with integrity. It was finally over, and the silence felt earned.